right, welcome back to CITIUS Mag Live from Eugene, Oregon. It is day 9. I'm still breathing. I'm still here, hanging in there. Got a decent amount of sleep. Group run this morning, but vibes are high. We're almost done with the Olympic trials, and I'm joined now by Coach Zeb, my throws coach, Val's throws coach, and Valarie Allman, your reigning Olympic champion, and now officially going back to defend the title. So what are the feelings? You've had a couple days now to process things. Like, has your heart rate come down? And for you, I guess, like, it's official. You're going back.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it feels good to know for sure that ticket has been punched. It's been honestly just like a joy being here this trials, how it's played out, and then the last 48 hours of just getting to be with my favorite people, getting to go watch the meet. I mean, it's been pretty awesome. So I'm still riding the high.
Yeah, the heart rate was pretty calm, but now it's back up because I'm so excited to be back on the show.
We
had so much fun last year. Like, it was amazing. So thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
You were telling me a couple days ago that they were going to mic you up. I haven't watched the broadcast since I've been here, but what did the mic pick up?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, some of it I was probably blacked out, just like freaking out a little bit. But they said it was great. So hopefully there were some good things. I definitely kept it PG-13 and, kept it under control. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. So technically, what's clicking this year? Because, in the prelim, your farthest throw in 2 years. Things are going really well right now. So what has happened sort of in practice that has led to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has been in practice, like changes we've made. I mean, I think after Budapest last year, we really hit the drawing board hard of like, how do we make changes that we don't have to feel kind of this heartbreak in the moment, And I think it just required like a total elevation across the board. And the biggest thing was just honestly having a much better, more positive perspective. And I think it's just really starting to show up. I think as an athlete, you have those indicators you look at and you track and you want to gain confidence from. And those have been going really well. But it's also just that belief that, like, I think this is going to be a really good year, that we're going to accomplish our goals, that we're going to give it our best and feel proud of whatever that ends up being.
Yeah. The perspective shift is something you've spoken about, I guess, like each time that you came through sort of like in the mix. And what exactly feels different about, just sort of the mental reset for this year?
I think the truth is that I just feel so much happier in life. That first time you're trying to climb your way to the top of the podium and you're the underdog and you're in the hunt and it's like you finally do it. That is like the most amazing feeling. But then it's really tough to figure out how to view yourself that next season. And I think I didn't quite realize that like part of what was driving me was like fear and worry of like, gosh, what if I don't do it again? And now I'm kind of over that. I've come to realize that like you do best when you're into it and you're excited to go after goals. And I feel refreshed with that. I feel grateful to have much more balance and joy just across the board outside of track in my personal life. And I think it's just kind of all working together to feel really good.
The cliche is pressure is a privilege. How do we, coach, reframe pressure into something more positive, that you can channel in competition?
I mean, I think that, like, for Valarie right now, I mean, if she is on and she's at her best, I mean, she is, pretty tough to beat, right? And, like, those last couple competitions, globals the last, couple years, it did take massive PBs for, that person to win. And I think that, if she is at her best, like, we know we're in a good spot. And I think, just, making sure she understands you don't have to have a Herculean effort. Nothing crazy is required, but you have to be on your game and bring your best, so.
Talk technical to me because, I love just sort of getting nerdy with it because even if, I don't pick up on things, our audience loves it. It gets, ends up getting clipped on all the throws accounts as well.
Yeah.
And so Val's considered kind of the most technically sound and like best athlete out there. What were some of the tiny changes or tweaks made from last year to this year that, if you looked closely at the competition, you might be able to pick up on it? It's tough because everything's so fast.
It is tough. So, I mean, I think that, everyone to a degree in their technique, can leak some energy. And so I think, it's easy, especially when there is pressure to like, tighten up right and engage maybe certain muscles or certain muscle groups that you don't necessarily want to. So I think for us, it's like, okay, how can we stay a little bit more relaxed and have a little bit better rhythm and timing? And so, some of those, are very real changes. So even her right leg out of the back, we're trying to like have it, come with her a little bit more, as opposed to if you've kind of frame by frame the back of the throw, sometimes that right foot will really trail a lot behind. And then, that results in a lot more like actually negative rotation. So we're trying to get that foot ahead and actually be more linear through the middle and actually the finish. So there's been some timing and rhythm things that are different. But the nuts and bolts of the technique hasn't really changed. So it's just some timing a little bit.
Right. If it's not broke, you don't have to fix it.
I agree, but I do think these small things definitely can just time. Like I said, she can ground the right foot in the middle of the throw earlier, which means the discus will be further behind, which means then her left foot will get down earlier. It's all about the sequence and order of it, so creating more potential energy.
You just made it sound really sophisticated, but in my head, this is what I think: tall, squish, squish, turn. Which sometimes throwing there's. I probably sounds really silly, but there's so much technique and intent behind it, but when you walk into the ring, you have to be able to execute it. So right now I feel like
we use funny words.
Yes,
squish, squish, turn.
Okay, break down squish, squish.
Go ahead.
Squish is my right foot in the middle, and then squish is my left foot at the very front.
Okay.
Squish implies landing with load,
on top
right, in a strong position.
Yeah.
How do you build up that power? I know we paid a visit to Austin last year and got to see you guys in the gym, but it's that combination of power and speed. So what are you doing, kind of maybe not necessarily in the ring, but in the weight room to get those numbers up too?
Yeah, so the weight room has always been important to us, and I think last year a few of the indicators we use, maybe it's like a power clean, personal best, or whatever it might be. Actually, she didn't PB on those, and I think that made you a little sad, right? You likes to PB
this year.
No, that's last year.
Okay.
This year she has shown real improvement and actually in absolute ways, improvement in vertical jump and PB in the power clean and the snatch and lifts we do, back squat. I mean, kind of all of them, honestly. So seeing that improve, I think, gives you a high level of confidence. Would you agree?
It does. Yeah. So those are some of the metrics that I think I draw a lot of confidence from.
Yeah.
Obviously, when people see Ryan Krauser put up his videos and from the gym and Joe Kovacs the same exact thing, they blow up because people look at those numbers and are like, oh my god, these guys are the strongest athletes in the world. There probably isn't a football player that is stronger than Joe Kovacs, and the NFL crowd will get defensive and not realize that. On the women's side, is that also very similar? Do you feel like, I guess, not just you, but some of the shot putters, are they also the strongest? I'm just generally curious.
I think so. I mean, I think, absolutely. And I think for Valarie, I think some of her metrics are absolutely insane, especially for how long and tall she is, right? Because they're shorter, and oftentimes a shorter athlete can, they have smaller range of motion, so they can move the bar, shorter distance. That kind of helps sometimes. But yeah, no, I think, and like you're saying, the shot putters, hammer throwers, they're all freaky strong in various ways, but I think so.
I do too.
For you, with the actual technique and the changes that were made this year, the slight tiny ones, does it go back to the dance background all over again, or are we past sort of that?
Let me tell you, Chris, I've been past that. Okay, I've been over that.
We're burying that storyline on the broadcast in Paris, I guess.
Let
NBC find a new angle.
I'm trying.
The story has just become so funny and dramatic that people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you were a professional dancer and then just last year learned the discus, you know. It's really stuck with people. But I think once you're a dancer, you're kind of always a dancer. The ability to be in tune with your body and make changes, it to me it helps. But
I'm being fun. I know.
Yeah, we never.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's go back a couple months to Jaime Perez throws. What was it? 73.09, and sort of immediately after, I think in your next competition in one of those Diamond League mix zones, you said no, seeing that actually motivated you. What did that set off?
Yeah. It was, Yamei's an incredible athlete, and that mark is absolutely insane. 73.09, it's been 30 years since a mark like that has been even close to being touched. And I want to be the standard, and if I'm not the standard, I want to get there. So, Yamei pushing the envelope like that, it definitely has kind of just lit a fire in me, and my goal is to try to get as close to that mark as I can in a stadium. And I know it's possible. It's just kind of having everything come together of confidence, training, technique, and seeing what we can put out there.
We don't know for certain if she's doing Paris, right?
I believe she's not.
Okay.
From my conversation with her coach, I believe she's not.
Yeah. That's a bummer because it's we love to see the kind of the best go up against the best. For you, how are you sort of like I asked you this just sort of at pre-classic, and it was like sizing up the competition, but it over the last couple of months, or you have gotten just a better gauge of like who's where in their season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to definitely be a really strong field, and I think like we've seen, people will elevate on the day, and it's going to take a 70-meter type throw to walk away with gold. So that's how we're preparing. We really viewed this as kind of here at Trials as a mock Olympics, of the effort we want to give at prelim in the final, how we build, how we work through it. So I feel like I have a lot of momentum, but I know that everyone wants to be on that podium. So not going to take a day for granted.
I look at sort of the sequence of your throws here in that final. So like obviously the first one goes 67-19. At that point, like you've won the competition, you're secure in your spot for Paris. But if we walk through sort of the 6 throws, could this sequence, you think, definitely medal in Paris? Could this have, like if you replicated this whole entire thing, also have won?
I think this would be a winning series in Paris. I think based on the history of kind of like these modern games, that would win any of them, Mm-hmm. So from a data perspective, that's my guess.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I agree.
What happened on the third throw? Because I think everyone saw that one on at least on the inside of the track where it went wide, and that's not all that common with you.
No, it's not.
I need to take this one.
Yeah.
So the second throw, she lost it a little early. And so that was much more like on the right side of the sector. And, so for once in her life, she took me literally. So I was like, you need to turn longer. I was like, turn it to the left sector, right? And she turns it to the left sector, literally goes out of the sector, which is, like you're saying, very rare from her. So she came back over when we had, had a little chat. And I was like, okay, you actually did what I said. I appreciate that. But it was like a little too much, But it is what it is. I mean, it was a far throw. And so it was, but she had that ability to make change during a competition, which I think is so important. If something happens, somebody passes, something crazy, we missed one, we got to be able to respond and make those adjustments, and she did a phenomenal job of that. So
yeah, what did I say to you kind of in the mix zone afterwards? I was like, oh, that was a very public practice on that throw.
Yes, it was.
I like that.
I felt like, to me, that prelim, I felt like I had that like organic, natural tension, and I was so excited, and I felt like I had the potential to kind of throw a PB after how that day felt. But I think I got so excited seeing that first 70-meter pop up, and I used a bit more of my energy than I wish I would have in a prelim. But going to the final, that was the goal, was just to keep turning those SBs into eventually a PB. And that far out gave me some hope that okay, there's the potential to be there. But it felt pretty cool to have all of Hayward clapping on round 6 and have that be my best throw.
67-19 on the first one, like does that allow for like just you to relax a little bit and like the pressure comes off?
Yeah, it did. I think also, Olympic trials can be triumphant for so many competitors, but they can also be heartbreaking. And some of the other throws events, I think I had awareness that you can be the favorite and it can just get away from you. So I think
weird trend here at these trials.
Yeah, I think that mark just helped me settle in,
Yeah. So then if we go through 4, 5, and then eventually 6, when you released it on the 6th one and it goes 70.73, did you know like right off the bat, like, okay, this is a really good one?
Well, it's so funny because the few times I've had people clap for me, and normally they're like my worst throws, like terrible, like into the ground, maybe 35, 40 meters, like really bad.
That might be
they're pretty bad. Okay, at least maybe that's how they feel because everyone's like really watching. Yeah. But I could tell that like the energy that went into the discus was pretty good, but I could tell my like energy tank was also kind of starting to fade at that point. So when I watched it fly, I was like, dang, I think that's like going to be maybe 69, maybe 70. And then when it popped up and it was like a high 70, I was pretty happy. Yeah.
What was your reaction in the stands?
Well, it was one of those. She came over after the 5th throw, and like she's saying, I could tell like there was a little bit of energy depletion going on, right? Like she didn't quite have the same tension, and so right away I was like, start the clap, and she's like, I hadn't thought about it, and I was like, you should start the clap, because it's just like one of those deals that we knew Hayward would be there and they'd be involved and they'd be excited, the whole crowd would be excited, so she did it. And it was an epic slow clap. She owned it, right? Like let it build, and then did it. And so I knew it was far as soon as it left her hand. But again, I actually thought it was over 71. But again, the vantage, it's so hard to see where I was. But it was epic. Yeah, it was awesome. How
much of a stark contrast is that, setting that up versus like in Tokyo when there were empty stands? Like, what was you guys were the only 2 people in this room who were there. Like, how barren was that whole stadium. And like, if you attempted to do that, is it just the volunteers or like a couple Team USA people, right? Like there was no one there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was almost like ghostly in how like kind of the eerie emptiness of it. But I mean, truthfully, I think for my first Olympics and that like first moment of really feeling a lot of pressure, it worked out, I think, well to have it not have that super amplified energy. But I don't know how that would have gone. I mean, I think I could have like singularly pointed someone out and be like, hey, can you also get in on this? I need it, you know?
Exactly.
But I think it was really cool. I mean, Hayward is such a special place, and this crowd, I've been blown away by just like people showing up, their engagement, their passion. It's been electric, and it has me excited for potentially what it could be in Paris too.
Yeah. So in Paris, how big is the squad that's coming out for you?
My mom, dad, brother, sister-in-law, and their baby Chase will be there. So,
Wow.
Yeah, and then a couple friends from college. So, yeah.
You're the reigning champ, so I feel like this one is a little bit easier. They had flights and Airbnbs booked before the trials?
They did.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
I mean, it's like one of those things of like, it's kind of like the Fight Club rules. Like we just like don't talk about it. You know, it's like
Yeah,
okay,
right. Don't tell me until the
yeah,
trials.
exactly. But yeah, it's the Olympics. It's so amazing, but also complicated to get those type of things that like we've been working hard to try to get some of those logistics taken care of, and I'm grateful we did now.
What else are you looking forward to, I guess, like at these Olympics compared to the last one before we started rolling? We were talking about just like the lockdown situation and when you couldn't leave your rooms. And this time around, like there's the flexibility to go out and possibly, catch another sport, or once you're done competing, go and see some other people, from Team USA competing. What are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think weirdly, I think that pandemic situation, it did give me a lot of good guidance of kind of how I think we're going to approach the games on the front end of just keeping it simple and taking care of business. But I'm
just excited we don't have to get COVID tested every morning.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be nice.
Yeah,
Like,
that
in
will be
21,
nice.
that was a worry every day.
Yeah.
So that's going to feel good.
love pastries, though. Pastries are like my jam. So I already have a list of like all of the bakeries we will be going to.
Yes.
So that's like very high on the list. But honestly, I'm so excited. I mean, to have my A6 family there, to have my actual family there, I just want to be able to take it in with them and go kind of with the flow. Hopefully it's one of those kind of really impactful lifetime periods, and just lean into that.
Is your Instagram discovery page just like mine is right now, where it's like, oh, look at this chocolate croissant place, and then look at this other, baguette spot, and like I've got them all bookmarked.
Oh yes, that's the entire
How
explore
many do you
page.
send me a day? Like she sends me so many Instagram stories or posts of exactly what you're saying. Like we're doing them. So.
I'm getting fed all that stuff. I'm not even taking anything on Duolingo to like prepare for like French. I'm gonna be the obnoxious American who it's like that they already have their preconceived notions about, and I'm just gonna barge in for 3 weeks and order all the chocolate croissants. Like some of them look huge.
Have you seen? Yes, that's like a new thing. Maybe I'm gonna start sending Chris.
Go ahead.
My recommendations.
You guys should
Send
like
them over.
cross-reference,
There we go.
see what we got.
I got like already a friend of mine sent me like a Google map with like pins down. So
We need that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
For sure.
like at this point we're like less than 2 months out. I think we could probably start making some dinner reservations.
I like
We'll be in touch, and we'll schedule all of that out
Perfect.
beforehand. All right. Well, what do the next couple weeks look like?
Well, ironically, we're actually going to Paris next week for the Paris Diamond League meet, which I'm really looking forward to. We kind of went back and forth on whether that made sense for us. But I feel like I do really well when I know that there's something on the horizon coming up quick. So we got back to practice today and are going to get into a groove, hit that meet, and then we'll come home for about a week and a half. And then we're going to go to Europe to our favorite spot in Leuven, Belgium, train there for a week.
Yes.
Love
Leuven.
Leuven.
Oh, it's the best.
It's awesome.
And then we'll take the train from Brussels to Paris and get there just a few days before the games.
Awesome. Well, Val, Coach, best of luck over the next couple weeks. I can't wait to be in Paris. We'll be there in the stands cheering you guys on, and so looking forward to all of it.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
We really appreciate you, Chris.